Good afternoon. I'm Dennis Galucki, a volunteer serving the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library, which is hosting the 467th Imagine Greater Buffalo program and 89th virtual Imagine lecture. Forgive my grovelly voice, but and thank you so much for joining us today on our first day of summer, a beautiful day at that. Now we're going to start with our speaker shortly, but first, a little housekeeping. Everyone watching will be muted during our speaker's presentation. If you have a question, please type it into the chat box and we'll get to as many as we can. This program is being recorded. You'll be able to watch it again later on the Downtown Central Library's Facebook page and YouTube channels. And we hope you share the link with your friends and networks. This program is created by the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature, or C-SAAHN, and ImagineLifelongLearning.com. Our primary theme is to imagine Greater Buffalo as a premier North American cultural and nature center. Now, on to our featured speaker, Lynne Bader. Lynn is executive producer at Buffalo Toronto Public Media and is an award-winning producer with 25 years of experience sharing the stories of our region on WNED, PBS, and has produced an incredibly wide range of programming at local and national television audiences, and more recently for the digital audiences for all platforms. Prior to joining Buffalo Toronto Public Media in 1997, Lynn worked in the commercial television world as a director of WROC in Rochester, New York, and KFVS in Cape Girardeau in Missouri. She received her Bachelor of Science in Communications from Southwest Missouri State University and graduated from the Specs Howard School of Broadcast Arts in Detroit, Michigan. Lynn's most important job, however, is as a mom to teenage twins. She also enjoys golfing, gardening, cooking, reading, and spending time discovering all Western New York has to offer. So now let's welcome Lynne Bader. Lynn, take it away.
All right, Dennis. Well, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. I can't believe that I've been here 25 years, but indeed, in August, I will celebrate 25 years in this wonderful region, sharing the stories. So when I thought about what we could talk about, one of the first things that came to mind, two things came to mind, which I'm going to discuss. The first is our role in public media as the storyteller. Right? We've done this for a long time. We really have a wonderful history of producing long form documentaries that take the jewels that we have here in Western New York and present those to a wider audience. One of the programs I produced most recently is Kleinhands Gift to Buffalo. And so this is a project that has been on the list of things to do for a very long time. We told stories about the Martin House. We did a half-hour program on the Richardson Olmsted campus. We've done stories on South Buffalo, the Frederick Law Olmsted documentaries that we produced. And so it made sense that we would at some point in our history tell the story of Kleinhands Music Hall. When we got together with the folks at Kleinhands, Dan Hart and others, we discussed, what is the story? And it really became that this is the people's auditorium, and that throughout its history, it was designed by, a world-renowned architect, Eliel and Eero Saarinen. It's one of the few buildings that the father and son team worked on together. And yet everything that happens within that building is about community. And so that really is where we wanted to center the story, as it's the civic auditorium of Buffalo. So that aired earlier, actually late last year, and you can stream that program now on WNED.org, and you can watch that program anytime that you'd like. What I wanted to do is share just the trailer with you because I have some limited time. And so I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully we'll do this successfully. The dollars raised for this film were a combination of some individual giving from some people who are very interested in having this story told, but then also the dollars that are raised from people just like you and me who give $5 or $10 a month. It's member dollars that were able to make up the difference in the budget. So this truly was produced by community financial support. So let me just share my screen and we'll watch it. Lasts only a couple of minutes. Share sound. All right, there we go. So you should see the YouTube screen now. I'm going to make this nice and big.
Yes.
Then let me know if this isn't working, but I'm going to give it a go.
Looks good.
When you come to Kleinhands, you have the feeling you own a little bit of this hall. This is your hall.
Nestled in a neighborhood just outside downtown Buffalo is Kleinhands Music Hall, a revered National Historic Landmark and internationally recognized as one of the greatest music halls in America.
It's a very uplifting story. It's the music, but it's also the people who made that possible.
We brought the best of the world's talent and coupled it with the best of our talent to create this world-class music hall.
The sound is undescribable unless you're sitting in a seat and you feel like they're playing just for you.
To stand on that stage and offer my sound, it is magical every time I stand on that stage.
I think that in the city of Buffalo, there's not a place like Kleinhands Music Hall. It's a very unique place.
I saw Arlo Guthrie, James Taylor. I can recall seeing B.B. King at Kleinhands Music Hall.
It's a place where the community gathers and where memories are made.
Hi, Joanne.
Hey, Nikki, are you going to play something for me?
Yes, I will. I'll play a little bit of Strauss.
Excellent. I don't often get to sit in the audience and just listen to the sound. And it always thrills me. The hall is designed to project that sound all the way up to the balcony. And when you hear it up here, it's something truly beautiful.
Kleinhands has really become now sort of the civic auditorium of Buffalo. Not just in music, but in all of the life of the city of Buffalo, which is a wonderful, wonderful legacy for a building to have.
So that's Kleinhands Gift to Buffalo. I hope that you all check it out on WNED.org if you haven't seen it already. And then, you know, the other thing that I would encourage you to do is share it with your friends, you know, share it with folks maybe who have left Buffalo and are living in other cities, because really the program is filled with different Kleinhands memories of folks who've performed there, groups who've graduated from the stage there. And you can see how it's not just a place for the BPO. It's really a place for everyone, and it's our civic auditorium. Finally, you know, I think the thing about building a better Buffalo, or building the best Buffalo we can build, also means that we need to take care of the wonderful things that we have here. So I know that they received some recent funding to help provide a new roof. You can see on that very first shot from the drone that the roof at Kleinhands definitely needs some attention. But that these are cultural gems that we need to continue to take care of so that generations long after we are gone can enjoy them as well. It is one of the only buildings that continues to provide the same service that it did when it was originally built. There's a lot of buildings that have been restored And we wanted to make that point that this building is the building that's remained open the entire time. And so it is kind of hard to shut down a building that serves the community all year round in order to make those repairs. The second project that I wanted to talk to you about that Buffalo Toronto Public Media has launched just recently is really in stark comparison to Kleinhands' gift to Buffalo. And it's called Buffalo What's Next. It is a radio program that we have on WBFO every weekday. We started on May 26th, and it was in direct response to the May 14th tragic shooting and murder of 10 of our fellow neighborhood Buffalonians and injury to 3 others, and certainly traumatic event for everyone who is in that East Side community, in that vicinity. And then I think Buffalo as a whole, you know, we were really harmed by this event. I think that when it happened, we knew as a public media entity that we had a responsibility to respond. The news department went to work immediately. Obviously, they covered the events of the day. It was all hands on deck. But then the president came and then he left, and, you know, funerals started to happen. And we sat down together on May 23rd with our president and CEO and Dave Rotterman, our chief content officer, and Jay Moran, who is our host for Morning Edition, Bridget Jaipal Valenza, who is our managing editor at WBFO. She hands out all the reporter assignments. And Dave Debo, our news director, and myself, from the WNED PBS side of things, said, what can we do? What is our responsibility? How can we respond to this tragedy in a lasting way that continues the conversation? So that's what happened. It wasn't hard to come up with a title, and often that can be almost the most challenging part of a project, is coming up with a title. Buffalo, comma, what's next? Question mark. And we launched the program 3 days later. We're on an hour each weekday, and it is hosted by Bridget, Dave, and Jay, and then with me sort of behind the scenes, kind of organizing everything, booking guests to come on the program. And we really wanted to hear from the families, the victims and others who were there at TOPS, but then what made that TOPS in our community a target? What are the things about our city that we really need to begin talking about? We're talking about systemic racism. We're talking about systems in our structure that keep parts of us down while others are thriving and others are enjoying a renaissance. So I'm super proud of Buffalo What's Next. We've only been out, we did our 17th episode this morning, and it's been a ton of work, but I want to share a little bit with you on from one of those episodes. So again, I'm going to share my video. Here we go. And I know that this isn't the screen that we were hoping to see, but we're going to get rid of this just a second here. Close out of that. Go to this tab. And I have it queued up to a particular episode that we did the other day. You can see here are all the episodes. You can go to WBFO.org and catch up on all of them. You can search whatever podcast app you happen to use for Buffalo What's Next, and listen to it there. Where did she go? Nope. Zanetta Everhart came on. Now she testified in front of Congress. Her son was injured, shot in the neck in the event, but then she has also, oh, hang on a minute, I need to move. Give me 1 second here if you all are seeing that. There we go. And so let's listen to a little bit of that episode.
And you did a great job of outlining, like you said, there are 3 elements
absolutely
to this whole thing that you saw. And first, America is violent, and
It is.
And I love this quote. You said, "My ancestors were the first currency of America."
Yes. Auctioned for it, sold on auction blocks. You know, we built this country not just, with our hands. My ancestors built this country with their bodies. They were the money of this country. So that is something that, this country is deeply rooted in white supremacy. And we have to understand that, and we have to be honest about that, and we have to say it out loud, and we have to put it in the history books, and we have to teach our children that, because this terrorist that stormed into my community, he didn't know these things. He didn't know what this country did to my community, my ancestors. Yeah, we were the first currency of this country. Our bodies were the first currency of this country. There was no coins or dollar bills. It was people. People built this country physically, and they were sold. They were sold.
And that brings me to the other part of the second part, education.
Education.
What is lacking in education that needs to be put forward?
True African-American history. True American history. African-American history is American history. If we're the first currency of this country, the history of this country is us. So we have to teach that from the beginning, all the way from the beginning, and starting with children. That's it. We have to tell the story. We can't act like America has always been this, land of the home, free and brave and all of that. Yeah, it sounds good, right? It sounds real good, but at the surface, it's not true. It's not who we are. This country is violent. It teaches violence. It was built on violence.
So there's an example of Buffalo What's Next, Zanetta, and what she had to contribute. We've been talking about food apartheid. We've been talking about housing. We've been talking about systemic racism. We've been talking about racial trauma. We've been talking about what it means to be a good ally, a good white ally. And so this is a program that, I think, Dennis, as we open it up for Q&A, I want to maybe hear from some of the folks who are on the panel, if you've heard about Buffalo What's Next, or if you have thoughts or ideas about people we should have on, conversations you want to hear about that will help inform your thinking.
Lynn, thank you for arranging that as part of today's program. I happened to hear that episode that you just played, and it was in the evening. I was on the train coming back from Boston, actually, and I heard Jay in that interview. What time is it replayed in the evening?
Okay, so it's live every morning at 10 a.m. and then it replays on WBFO every weekday evening at 9 p.m. So you can listen to it at 88.7 on the radio. And then if you miss it, you can go to WBFO.org. We have a place there where you can look up all the episodes. That's how I just played the clip. And then, if you have podcasts on your phone and you listen to podcasts, I would go ahead and search for it and make it one of your favorites. And then it'll let you know when new episodes post.
Well, just continue with the thought, because it was, I thought, a great interview, and Jay did a good job with the questions. I'm sure you're working in a coordinated fashion. Things like that just don't happen as spontaneous as they sound, I'm sure. But are you getting feedback? Because it's an incredible idea on your part. Most cities do not have a WNED type of home-based operation like we are blessed to have, in my opinion. And that's using your resources and quickly thinking, what can we do that's not just thoughts and prayers, but really gets into the action component. And just elaborate again, the interviewee did have one of the three who were shot as her son, if I'm not mistaken, and hopefully coming along in his recovery. But she did testify to Congress, and boy, was she articulate in her rational look at life as she sees it, and I thought added a great deal to our thought process and potential future discussion. Would you elaborate any further, Lynn?
Sure. So I think that I know that our reporter, Thomas O'Neill White, who is in charge of our racial equity desk, the racial equity desk is a funded news desk, which isn't a physical desk, but it is a pot of dollars and resources which allow him to dedicate a certain number of hours per week to racial equity reporting. And he had just done, a really amazing survey where he had reached out to about 130 Black leaders, organizers, and people in Buffalo, asking them, what's the biggest problem in Buffalo and how do we solve it, right, for Black and Brown individuals? And so we have a very large Rolodex that we are drawing from, but we're also watching, what is happening in the community, being present in the different neighborhoods that are on the East Side. Our 5th episode was broadcast live from the Golden Cup Cafe. And I went back the next Monday to get a cup of coffee on my way into work. And Jackie, who's one of the owners of the Golden Cup, says, I had somebody come in the next day and we're like, where are the WBFO people? Like, I'm here to talk to them. And she thought we were there every day. Over the weekend, we were at Juneteenth. Buffalo Toronto Public Media had a table. It was really offering a lot of kind of educational materials in the work that we do there. But I was handing out postcards for Buffalo What's Next. And I must have had 4 or 5 people come up to me independently and say, oh my gosh, I've heard that show. It's great, right? Don't take that off the air. And so I think that we are continuing to have the show evolve. Mm-hmm. We knew we needed to do something and we needed to do it quickly. So right now we are, working on this project collectively with each other, talking about who we can have on, what are issues we haven't addressed yet. Next week, we're going to have 3 individuals on from the Community Health Center of Buffalo, who do a lot of work in this particular community, all talking about health disparity. Tomorrow, we have Stephanie Pete on from Say Yes Buffalo. The interesting thing that we're doing, we had very deep conversation about this when we were discussing it in the beginning. There's a reason, no offense to Mayor Byron Brown, but there's a reason the mayor has not been on. There's a reason Kathy Hochul has not been on. Those are not the guests necessarily that we feel like we need to hear from right now. We need to be listening to the community. We need to be listening to people who have been living with these challenges in their daily life for decades, I dare say hundreds of years. And those are the voices that we really want to amplify with this program in order to continue these sometimes very difficult conversations.
And that's great. And the idea that it'll continue open-ended from the sounds of it.
Well, we're hoping so. I mean, I think that, I think it's about, we basically built, designed, and flew the plane all at the same time, as my boss Dave likes to say. And now it's in the air, and we really are getting some wonderful feedback. But I also think that we need to think about what are the issues that we need to discuss. So if people are watching this today and have suggestions, if you don't want to put them in the chat right now, my door is open. My email is lbader@WNED.org. You can certainly reach out to me individually, and we'll get those ideas to the producing team that's putting the show on.
Well, let's start to hear from anybody that's got some questions. Leah, do we have some comments and questions?
Yes. So the first one is, would it be possible for a future project to be on the subject of the Chautauqua Institution, both the history and current and upcoming changes to the institution?
Great. And so, what, interestingly about Chautauqua, so we did Chautauqua, an American Narrative, which was, a national program, but you're right. A lot has changed since we did that program. I want to say 10 years ago or so now.
Close to.
Yeah. And so I think that, Chautauqua in and of itself, in terms of the people that come to Chautauqua to speak, the physical improvements that they've made to the site. Some people agree with, the amphitheater improvements, and some do not. But I do think that that is always a topic that we can continue to discuss because our missions align so well.
Well, and the question may be pointing to the upcoming Buffalo Day at Chautauqua. It was an earlier Buffalo Day that I had David Rotterman screen the video that you're talking about, Chautauqua's video that you had just done at that time. It was current events and behind the scenes, the making, and what they were trying to accomplish at WNED in making the video. Now it's a piece of a larger local project, which includes Western New York. That's the Imagine Greater Buffalo idea. It's a play on words to say it's larger than Buffalo, and it's also Buffalo's future, a greater future. And that's what this program is. And you're like complimenting it so nicely with your efforts right now. I can't get over, you're doing a daily program that this is a weekly, so I know just a glimpse what it's like to get speakers and create the production that you're working on, Lynn.
You know,
Any other questions, Lynn?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
The idea of Greater Buffalo is really meaningful to me because if you think about the other audience that we serve on the other side of the lake, Southern Ontario, it used to just be Toronto. It is now the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. And that kind of thinking is just what you're talking about, Dennis, in terms of Chautauqua.
Well, I'm sure we're going to be expanding further and further into that thought process. But Leah, any other comments or questions?
Yep, we do have a few more. How can an organization get a video made about them?
Interesting. So if you're an organization and you have a story to tell, you know, the first thing that you can do is contact me and tell me what your story is. I think that a lot of times, you know, we really have a lot of community partnerships. We love to collaborate. We love to share the stories of the community. We cannot produce that stuff just in a vacuum. So I would reach out to me directly and we can talk about your story. And then usually if we have community partners around an idea, you know, we brainstorm how to get that funded, or there may be funding sources available that you and your organization know about, and you just need, you know, a place to tell your story.
And can you tell us about any future guests on What's Next Buffalo?
Okay, so we do have, we're booking into next week. So we're hoping to have on the head of Colored Girls Bike 2. It's an interesting group. You know, we have these like slow rolls and stuff, but there's an organization called Colored Girls Bike 2, and they have been doing a lot of work in direct response to May 14th. They were actually picking up and delivering food to individuals' homes. But it's the idea, you don't see a lot of Black girls who bike. And this is a group of young girls who get together and talk about that. We will be having, again, like I say, the Community Health Center, Community Health Center of Buffalo on next week. We're looking at having Miles Carter come back on and join us. I think that I have a long list of asks that are out. What we're trying to do is create themed conversations around the program as well. But there's an endless number of things to talk about.
Great. And we have one more question. Do you think WBFO will air music again on a regular basis and not just 2 hours a week? They go on to say that jazz pianist Herbie Hancock was in Buffalo on Friday night. Kleinhands looks like it was sold out, but the sad thing is that there weren't any local radio stations playing his music.
So that's some good feedback for us. I think that we have blues on Saturday night for 2 hours. It used to be larger. I think that a lot of what we do, we like to say when we're doing our membership drives that we try to be good stewards of the money that comes in to Buffalo Toronto Public Media, and that we have a direct relationship with our viewers and our listeners in that regard. There isn't like an advertising middleman. What that does mean, though, is that sometimes the things that get supported are going to find space on our air, right? And I know we are doing a lot with WBFO The Bridge, which is a new internet radio service. We call it college radio for adults. And we're working to beef up that service and have more voices and, quite frankly, music from the community and local music from the community. But you're right, Herbie Hancock came to Kleinhands and sold out. And, you know, we may have done a radio story, but that might not have been a perfect alignment for us at the moment.
Great, those are all the questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we've got just a few more minutes, so if somebody has another question, quickly get it into us. But Lynn, I can't tell you, I from the beginning of this Buffalo Day, it included the primary sponsor was the what's now called Buffalo Toronto Public Media. It just made so much sense that again, most cities don't have a headquartered creating productions. They've certainly got an outlet usually for NPR or public radio or TV, but to actually create, as you do and David Roderman do, create productions here that can include obviously local flavor. Boy, what a asset that is, and I wanted to highlight that every year, and we have it virtually every year at Buffalo Day, ex-COVID. The other aspect, and I'll mention it, is Chautauqua itself is with COVID needing to create that digital audience. Of course, they were going in that direction, but now they truly are expanding it. So they, like yourself, are doing a lot of experimentation. So the continued collaboration of Chautauqua as part of Greater Buffalo, it's in Western New York. It's part of the it's part of the library system, educational system of New York State. And it's a treasure just 80 miles south of here. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I see a future of that. Perhaps you can comment on that if you like.
Sure. I think that Chautauqua is a wonderful institution and is evolving and changing itself every single day. I think that the role we play as a media company and as a public media company is that we have a responsibility to uplift voices, to provide a platform. Chautauqua does the very same thing, right? And I think that as we look to the future, you bring up COVID, you know, we all sort of had to turn on a dime, even us, and say, how do we reach audiences in a way that is meaningful? And that is in the digital space. It is in the virtual space. I think that, you know, what we can continue to do is provide those storytelling opportunities, because Buffalo is, you know, there's that mural in Buffalo that says Buffalo's, what is it? Keep Buffalo a secret or something like that. And I think that, and, you know, the idea is we're so great, let's not tell anybody about us so that, you know, nothing changes. And yet we need to evolve. Chautauqua is a part of that. It's a part of our region, and it helps. Chautauqua is the place, besides being a beautiful place to be, it's a place to continue intelligent thought and reflection, and to look at our world through the Chautauqua lens. And Buffalo Toronto Public Media has the ability to then magnify that lens or amplify that lens and share stories with the rest of the country about who we are in the kinds of conversations we're having right here.
Well, that's we share a common vision. Let's put it that way. And I always like to say to be continued, because this will be. But thank you for just giving the right presentation at the right time here in Buffalo. Yeah, it's about what you do in Chautauqua, but boy, May 14th certainly changed the thought process in this town, obviously well beyond this town, but that allows for a much larger dialogue that Buffalo, especially through your program, can be an important player in getting the feedback from the community. Everybody always says that, let's listen, And then, as you point out, they leave town. and it's up to us to create the venues to help that listening process happen. I think that's what's next, is an important platform for doing just that. So thank you very much for that, Lynn. And we will thank all our audience, our loyal audience, for joining us today and every Tuesday that you are able to do so. The Imagine Greater Buffalo series, hosted by the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library, will be taking a break for the summer. We hope to see you back here again on September 6th, when we kick off the new season of Imagine Greater Buffalo speakers with Heather Gringe of the Birchfield Penny Art Center. Please note, Imagine Greater Buffalo does continue at a different venue. The landmark cruise is called Imagine Greater Buffalo. It's on the Miss Buffalo 2 every Wednesday afternoon in July and August. There'll be 3 different cruises. That's part of Waterfront Wednesdays Children Free, and is sponsored by the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. They have a reading program there on Tuesday, and they also are pointing to this Wednesday program. See the website for Imagine Buffalo, Miss Buffalo 2, just search that in, and you'll find out further information. Finally, a reminder, Buffalo Day at Chautauqua is also sponsored by the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library and Erie County, and it is 2 weeks from today, Tuesday, July 5th. All Greater Buffalo residents are free. If you live and are a resident in the zip codes 14201 to 14280, that's all Buffalo and beyond residents. Register free, register before July 5th, and parking is also free. So see the Chautauqua website for more details by searching Buffalo Day at Chautauqua. Wow, I'm Dennis Galecki. Be well, good day, and enjoy our great Buffalo summer.